The Unlikely Innovators with Mike Commito and Steve Gravel. Presented by Cambrian R&D and the Center for Smart Mining.
Mike, we're back, and it's a time for cheer. This is our Christmas episode, and of course, we're at the Refettorio, behind the scenes in the dressing room.
That's right.
I thought this was a great episode with Alessandro.
Yeah, well, I think maybe I'll kick it off by reading his bio, and then we can kind of...
Please do.
So we were just joined by Alessandro Costantini, who is the co-founder and artistic director of Yes Theater. His work has brought him to stages across North America, most notably in the national tour of the Tony Award-winning Best Musical, Dear Evan Hansen. Alessandro and his team recently completed the opening of the new venue, the Refettorio, which is where we are right now in the dressing room. A new outdoor performance and gathering space launched to reinvigorate our community. The $3 million for the project was raised in less than 9 months, which he talks about in this episode.
Indeed.
At the height of the pandemic, and was fully realized this past summer with productions of Romeo and Juliet and Forever and For Always, the music of Shania Twain. Alessandro is a graduate of the George Brown School. In June of 2022, Yes Theater and the Sudbury Theater Center entered into a partnership season resulting in over 50,000 patrons, $1.9 million in ticket sales, and over 300 local artist contracts. The SCC and Yes officially amalgamated on November 1st, 2023, and now we're here at, I would say, is it one of the crown jewels of that?
I think so. I mean, excellent episode. It's a testament to when you have clarity of vision and passion, how something can get done quickly. So many times people say how hard it is to get things done in Sudbury, and I think the Ref is just one of those examples of something, that went from an idea to execution in a short period of time, and it should be used as a model.
Yeah, no, it really is impressive because I'm still waiting on a grant, and it's coming up to 9 months. And in that 9 months, he got all of the funding that he needed to do this, right? And I think...
You need clarity of vision, my friend.
No, and I think the questions that you asked, he was able to explain like what a refectorio is and why it's important and why our community should have it.
Tip of his tongue.
Yeah, so I think he was dialed in, and we were dialed in. So maybe
I think so.
Let's not delay this any further and go right to Alessandro.
All right, and we're back, and we're joined by Alessandro Costantini, who is the co-founder and artistic director of Yes Theater. And we're actually at this beautiful space, the Refettorio. So awesome to have you on the show.
Thank you.
One of the things that we sort of like to ask when we first have guests on is, I'm going to take you back to childhood where you were thinking about what am I going to do with this great big life I have ahead of me? Did you always know that you were going to do something in theater? Was that something that was sort of in the stars for you from the beginning?
I think so. I mean, I have always, since I was a young kid, I really liked gathering people together to watch me sing. So I think that was when it sparked. I think my cousins from Italy came and they brought over a Backstreet Boys CD. And then I just sort of memorized everything and was singing in my room and dancing in my room. And then my nonna one day said, turn down the music so I could hear you a little bit better. And then the rest is history, really. Yeah.
Yeah, so you sort of knew. That's so funny, that Backstreet Boys connection. I'm vibing with that because I was a huge fan. I'm part of the official fan club, like online.
Yeah, I think so. It really, from a young age, I knew that I wanted to perform. I think it has developed into more of a hunger to create like connection, and theater is a conduit for that. So, yeah, but at first it was really about getting up there,
And then obviously like a big part of that too is the business side, right? So I mean, it's one thing to know that you want to perform, and you've been in a lot of great performances that we'll probably talk about a little bit later and when we read your bio, but what is it like going from the performance side to then, running a business and having to get, people through the door and keep the lights on, so to speak?
Well, I think I'm very fortunate because the organization that we have now, right? Like Yes is now our annual budget's sitting around 2.5 to 2.6 million. And when we began, it was really this... It was, by all intents and purposes, just a community theater, right? It was me and my friends. We had to raise about $45,000 to $50,000, which was still a lot when I was 16. Yeah. But I think because we've been able to do that gradually, we've been able to build gradually, all of that sort of business acumen and training and mistakes got to happen at certain points in my trajectory, if you will, where it was sort of safe, right? So, but certainly now that we're this larger organization with a very different approach to the theater practice and to what I think constitutes professional art, etc., it's been quite amazing to take a model that sort of works, arguably sort of works and sort of doesn't, and really smash it apart and figure out what works best for us. And and focus our revenue generation on, different areas. Yeah.
Now you're using a lot of business terms now, of course.
Right.
Now that so yeah, I bet you didn't project that when you were younger
No.
that you were going to do this
No.
as a business owner.
No, I just wanted to do hair. Like when I started the company, so I was an actor before.
Yeah.
I went to St. Charles College, and D'Angelo Safiris was my drama teacher, and I became really interested in trying to figure out what the next show that we would do the next year was. So then I would go on these websites like where you book the rights for these different musicals, and I kind of began to get obsessed with like looking at what titles were available and how much they cost and what the cast size was and could we pull it off with the people in our school and things that really weren't my business as a student. But she was really wonderful and sort of took me under her wing, and I got really fascinated with the beginnings of what it takes to put on a show. And again, really for the purposes of I wanted to bring people together, right? I wanted to bring people together. So yeah, it sort of all blossomed from that like really early interest of like, oh, how does that work? And then suddenly I'm like, oh, I guess I'm a producer now and I have to raise a bunch of money, and then you have to deal with all these people in it. So everything just kind of snowballed. But I never really, like now I would say I'm a producer first. I would, because artists, we hyphenate our after our names, right?
Sure.
Actor, producer, director, whatever.
Yeah.
And I would put producer as my sort of principal
Yeah.
identity now as an artist. Yeah.
I think that's good that it was sort of curiosity driven.
Mhm.
How do you make the sausage, so to speak?
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's an important part. I was going to ask, and we were talking about, what should we ask? And I end up becoming like a huge like nerd that asks very specific questions.
Yeah.
My hope
Does
is
it well.
my hope is that it doesn't have a yes or no answer. But one of the things that I always wanted to ask someone who has experience in this is, most people's interactions with performance art are movies and TV shows, and then they get out to the odd theater production. Can you sort of contrast the differences between what we'd see at like a staged theater
Yeah.
production and a film or a movie?
Yeah, I think the thing that is, like, theater has always existed, right? Theater is storytelling, so it's the most ancient form of formalized communication or storytelling. I think the thing that is sacred about it and that is very exciting is that you are putting living, beating hearts in a room, right? There's even a lot of research that says when people are sitting in an audience, their heartbeats begin to link, like the timing of people's heartbeats. So I just think the difference is, of course, you come see one of our shows and you're seeing 18 to 30. Matilda right now has 30 people on stage. There's a live band of 10 musicians. You are seeing everyone's work live in front of you. And it's just visceral, right? It just sort of slaps in a different way that I think you could really, of course, you could get in other mediums, but the theater, it just kind of breaks your heart open in a bit of a different way, right? That is unique to the present lived experience and the immediacy of it, right?
Well, and I think I that resonates with me because I've seen as many movies as anyone has, but I don't think I've ever felt the emotion of the actor quite like when you see someone on a stage, even if they're, by day they might be a teacher, but at night they're a community actor. They still can connect on a way that you don't get through a screen, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It's just it's a conduit for, like I said, opening your mind and opening your heart in ways that you can't quite get from the couch or from in a movie theater. Yeah.
Thank God COVID's over.
Thank God, because that was sad. Well, it was useful because we built this building.
Yeah.
Because I was sort of looking for something to do, and this was the project, the Refettorio. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's a pretty good project, and we're going to get in talk about the Ref in more detail. But our show is called The Unlikely Innovators, and we called it that because at the time when we started this podcast in COVID, we thought we wanted to kind of shine a light on some of the innovation that's happening in Sudbury, chiefly through the work that we're doing at Cambrian, because I think for a lot of people, Sudbury is still viewed as an unlikely destination for innovation. Yeah. And one of the reasons we wanted to have you on the show was because I think in some ways, people probably still think of Sudbury as an unlikely destination for theater and performances, right? And I think the work that you've been doing and the work that we've seen in the community over the last little while is showing that that's not true. So I was just wondering if maybe you could take that for a walk.
Yeah. I really believe that the places that need art the most are actually like the non-urban centers, right? I think like the future of our art form exists in the hands of regional communities, right? And regional artists. So what we wanted to do here and especially now that we've merged with the Sudbury Theatre Centre and we're one organization, we have these two venues, we're really focusing on making this that destination for arts and culture, right? Do a lot of programming with a lot of people, and making sure that that people could go out almost any night of the week, right? As of June, as of when Jersey Boys opened, we had something on stage every single month until the end of the year, right? Which is exhausting for the team certainly, and the resources that we have right now. But it's possible to have these really. I mean, we have always been a very culturally rich city, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no argument there. Like the music scene, the film scene, like it's always been quite vibrant. And the Sudbury Theatre Centre has a long history. Yes, has been around for 15 years now. TNO, Plastis Art. There's a lot of people doing really great stuff. But what we're trying to do is really bring it to sort of the next level and make this a tourist destination, right? So yes, we want our citizens, mainly we want our citizens to be able to engage in the work, but we want to bring the world here to our community. And that happens by engaging artists from different places,
Sure.
Doing a lot of tourism marketing, all of these different things. But I really believe that we have something unique to offer, and especially now the Refettorio is one of the most unique spaces in the country for an outdoor theater, or in the world, frankly. There's not really any little theaters like this in the center of a downtown.
Yeah.
Outdoor theaters are always in parks or, So we got a lot going for us in this moment, and we welcomed 50,000 patrons this year, which was a kind of insane increase.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all cooking really beautifully.
Well, that's good. And you set me up perfectly because, I was telling you off air that I had a chance to see Forever and for Always, the Shania Twain cover production, if you want to call it, or homage, or and it was fantastic. The outdoor space here is incredible. So for those that are can't see, we're right next to the Refettorio stage. What is a Refettorio? And how did you come up with this idea?
Yeah, so a Refettorio is a communal dining hall. It traditionally was used by monks all over the world as a sort of like a glorified version of cafeteria, if you will. A bit more of like a heart-forward version of cafeteria. But I'm very inspired by this Italian chef named Massimo Bottura, who has this organization called Food for Soul. And in 2015, when the World Fair was happening in Milan, he took over this abandoned abandoned church. It was a church, then it was a theater, then it was abandoned, which is amazing. And he brought in some of the best designers of Italy, and they transformed this place into this Refettorio. And they took the food waste, so the bread that was sort of stale or the bananas that were sort of going bad from all the things at the World Fair, and he brought in these world-class chefs to do these Michelin star meals, but exclusively for vulnerable citizens in the community. So I was really struck by just how beautiful that was as an idea. And when I was looking up the word Refettorio, I discovered that it comes from the Latin word reficere, which means to remake and restore. So here we were in the middle of the pandemic. Our downtown has been decimated. Our sense of community has been decimated. And I really wanted something that felt completely community-driven and something that, art is secondary to the idea of congregation, right? The idea of bringing people together. Maybe not secondary, it goes hand in hand, but the thing that is most important to me, I've always viewed my theater practice very similarly to cooking, right? My mother's the head chef at the Cruiser Club. We're super Italian.
Oh my God.
And it's about, I've always, as a producer especially, felt like I'm buying all the ingredients, and then I bring a team together and we cook it all and we serve it to the people, right? So that's why the word Refettorio really stuck, and I just felt like this is sort of our contribution, a communal dining hall for the soul, right? That also has a kitchen where we serve amazing food.
That's unreal.
Yeah.
I purposely didn't research what it was because I wanted an organic moment like
for all
that.
of our pods.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah,
Thank
but that's
you,
how it
Mike.
came to be. And we were walking
Yeah.
by, and I was like, "This place is dope." And we were just gonna do something.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like a $50,000 idea.
Right.
We were just gonna do something for the COVID summer.
Benches, Yeah.
Just clean it up a little bit. And then there was a million red flags, and I was sort of, got my shoulders up a little bit because everyone was saying no, which is exactly why theater started in the first place, because
Right.
everyone was like, "You can't do that. You can't do that. You can't do that." And so that really lit a fire under me, and I was like, "Great. Well, what do we got to do? We got to get an architect. We got to do this." So it went from a $50,000 project to $400,000, and my board was like, "We got to stop. This is crazy." And I'm like, "Just hold on."
Yeah.
And then it became the $3 million project that it was, and took us 9 months to raise the money, and we got done.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah.
actually what I wanted to ask you about as well. And you've already kind of touched on this, but I mean, we were admiring the timbers.
Yes.
And obviously, it's a beautiful space. And when we came in, we saw the plaque recognizing all of the community support for this. But like, can you drill down a little bit further into how, like, you knew that it was becoming an increasingly larger project, but you're able to make it happen by getting community support, getting funding.
Yeah.
Can you talk about maybe handling some of the logistics and actually taking this great idea and actually putting it into reality?
Yeah, well, I think the thing that was, again, earlier when I was speaking about like that slow trajectory, right? We were coming into this project with basically 13 years of data and history and success, right? We had a track record. And what we were aiming for, I wasn't trying to build another 30 or 40 million dollar space, right? I'm like, this is a very specific thing. It's very minimalist. It doesn't have crazy lighting. It's essentially you put something on stage and all it is the people. Right? Because that's how we began as an organization. We didn't have money for big sets or costumes or anything, right? So our whole creative aesthetic was developed off this very essentialist approach, right? So as we began to come up with the idea, it was sort of like our whole history and our whole vision and those early days, our early aesthetic, just began to align perfectly. So when we were going into these grant applications or doing pitches to people, it was just really clear vision. It was just really easy to talk about. And it was really easy for me to essentially make everyone see the picture, right? So it really, though it was like a lot of hard work, like we raised the money in 9 months.
Yeah,
You know,
wild.
and I was on tour with Dear Evan
That's lightning
Hansen.
quick,
Yeah, it was crazy quick.
Yeah.
And we really worked hard. The whole team really, really worked hard. And yeah, it felt very surreal to be able to like accomplish it. It was like just this snowball. And again, because of the pandemic, people were really like just questioning what exactly does community mean to us, right? People were banging pots for like 6 months at 8 o'clock every night, right? So the congregation was stripped from us, and I sort of saw that as something to take advantage of. So I said, look, this space will be a place for us to come together again when we can, right? With work that is going to specifically explore that idea, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm struck by how important, and we know this from the work we do, clear vision and passion is so much more saleable.
Yeah.
You know, when you can articulate something in a 30-second pitch with a partner or something like that, it's just so much more. It has legs immediately then, right?
Yeah.
Instead of, well, I want to do this outdoor thing, and you could tell from your passion and the clarity of vision is really what sold this thing.
And again,
right?
that was just simply because like that clarity we've only arrived at that clarity because of the work that we've done, right? Yeah. And the actual sense of community that we built as a group of artists and their families and the patrons and everything, right? Like it's easy to talk about because it's true. Yeah.
Yeah. Now, one thing I can tell about you from talking to you a little while now is, as entrepreneurs, you're always thinking about what's next. And I know that the glue in the glue lamp is almost not dry yet, but what is next for Yes Theater, the Ref, Alessandro? What is next?
Well, we're gonna take it. We're gonna keep leveling up. Essentially, I'm really focused on this next year, specifically riding off the momentum of what we've just done this year. We had, like I said, we've had over 50,000 patrons. Jersey Boys was the biggest selling show in the history of Northern Ontario. Matilda sold 98% of its tickets before we opened, which broke Jersey Boys' record. So we're sort of all sitting here scratching our heads going, okay, amazing. Let's just keep going. But I'm going to really be focusing this next year on developing more of a philanthropic culture, because now that people have a relationship to the theater in the community, there is now more reasons for people to support it, right? In the same ways that they would the university or the church or the library or museums, right? There's a tangible connection and there's meaning between the space. So that's going to be a big part of our focus this year, so that we could begin to commission new musicals, new pieces that start here in Sudbury that we bring to the world, right? I have no doubt that in maybe a decade we're going to have a piece on Broadway, right? That started here in Sudbury.
Oh, wow.
That's part of the plan, right? And just continuing to cross-collaborate. I'm actually heading to Italy in a couple of weeks to meet with some artists there about potentially doing something that starts here at our Refettorio and tours to some of the other food spaces around the world. And so, yeah, just continuing to build and really focusing on creating more opportunities for our artists in our community to work and live and thrive, right?
Yeah, and that trip to Italy, does it have anything to do with the snow that we're seeing outside?
A little bit. Yes, it does. Yes, it does. Yeah.
Well, speaking of that snow, the viewers and the listeners can't see this, but like there's a beautiful Christmas tree out in the ref right now that's all lit up. Can you maybe talk a little bit about some of the work you guys are doing around the holidays right now for those that might not have been aware of it?
Yeah, so we have a beautiful little like mini Rockefeller Plaza here. You know, our first crack at it. It will get better as we go, but there's a beautiful 18-foot Christmas tree that we bought from Fresky Farms, and there's hay bales. People who come in the evenings, you can have a drink, you can sit and hang out here, take a little picture. It's a bit of an Instagram heaven, you know. And just come check it out and go to the theater because the show's running, we're thinking next year we might have like an ice sculpture festival in January, February, just ways to keep the space engaged throughout those cold months. And then it's going to come snapping back to life in the spring with our season opening. Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about some of the shows you guys have coming up? I know that we were chatting about it offline, but I think this guy was pretty fired up.
Amazing.
Don't accuse me of being fired up.
You said you were.
It's okay. You can be fired up.
I'm fired up, but I will out myself as fired out on my own terms.
Yeah.
Okay. Fair enough.
So the first show that's opening is called 1939. It is this play about a fictional residential school in Northern Ontario in 1939. The King and Queen of England are coming to visit this specific school, and the students at the school are tasked with performing Shakespeare's All's Well That Ends Well. And these young Indigenous students are sort of like, what is Shakespeare? What is that, right? As any young person does. Everyone's sort of, no one knows what Shakespeare is nowadays. So throughout the rehearsal process, they begin to find all of these similarities between their own culture and the narrative of the play. So slowly this becomes this beautiful story of resilience and this reclamation of their culture. It's a beautiful play. It debuted at the Stratford Festival. It's by Janie Lozon and Caitlin Brewerden. Janie is one of the most iconic theater artists of the country, and she is coming to Sudbury to direct a new production of this. And it's going to be featuring an entirely local cast. So that's the first one that's going to open. It's a really beautiful. I'm very, very honored, and I sort of can't even believe that we are going to be doing it here. So that's going to open. And then in the summer, we have a Beatles concert happening here, which is similar to the...
That's what I got fired up about.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah,
the Beatles one's going to be really cool. And then we're doing a production of Peter Pan here at the Ref. At the Sudbury Theatre Centre will be Chicago. That's our big summer piece. And then I'm doing a solo play here called Every Brilliant Thing, which is this very comedic and heartwarming meditation on what makes life beautiful. It's a really beautiful story about this young boy who's sort of grappling with this profound loss in his life, and but like I said, it's very moving, quite funny, and there's a lot of like audience sort of interaction in it. And then we are doing this Broadway show where we're going to be welcoming a couple friends of mine from New York City who are coming up, some folks who work on Broadway. And then we're closing the season with Oliver, and that'll be another piece that engages a lot of kids, because as we've seen with Matilda, there's so many incredible kids here, and we want to be able to train them and support them and put them on their path, you know? Yeah.
So that's a big year.
Yeah,
it
is a big year.
Lineup.
Yeah, it is a big lineup. But the bulk of it is in the summer, so, you know, we're used to...
Good thing you have two venues now,
good
too, right?
thing, indeed. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you have a lot of work to do, but since this is the holiday season, when we're airing this podcast, we'd be remiss if we didn't ask you as a performer and as an artist to share some holiday favorites with us. We've got some rapid fire ones for you. So
okay.
We're not asking him to sing.
No,
I'm like, you want to do a song? I could do a song.
I mean, we could, but no. But we'll just ask. So, like, favorite holiday Christmas song.
Have Yourself a Merry Little Christmas.
What about holiday theater production?
Probably What's on Stage Now, Matilda.
There you go.
I like it. And then favorite holiday Christmas movie.
The Grinch.
Ooh.
Hands down.
The original
the Jim
animated
Carrey,
or the Jim Carrey?
The Jim Carrey one, yeah. It's an unforgettable performance.
It's the best. It's the best.
You have a really important one to close.
Well, I mean, and this has torn apart families. It's turned friends into enemies. But is Die Hard a Christmas movie?
Yes, I think it is.
There you go.
I think it is.
Yeah, there you
I
go.
would say it
You heard
is.
it here. You heard
This
it
is
right
from a
from-
professional, just
That's
so everyone
right.
knows. This is a
Yeah.
professional, a creative artist. So I think that's the definitive word on it.
That's right. Yeah.
But Alessandro, thank you so much for taking
Thank
time
you.
from your busy schedule for doing this for us.
Thanks.
So we really appreciate it,
Yeah.
and people do come out and check out the ref and what's going on at STC.
Thank you.
It's really transforming the community. So
Thank
we
you.
appreciate
Appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for
Thanks.
watching.
Yeah, thanks. Steve, you showed excellent restraint in the end of that interview because I knew you were itching to either break in a song or
Yeah.
answer those rapid fire questions that we posed to Alessandro. So
Yeah, it was obvious, wasn't it?
yeah, like you were like itching.
Yeah.
You were visibly
fidgeting.
uncomfortable.
Yeah. Couldn't contain myself.
So I don't want to deny you this any further. So like we'll give you and me the rapid fire questions on
Sure.
on the holiday rundown.
Yeah, let's do it.
So what do we start with? Favorite Christmas holiday song?
Oh, Backstreet Boys Christmas. I was singing it earlier.
You were.
Yeah, definitely that. What about you?
I think it's like it's one of those songs where
Mariah
it's
Carey?
like no. It's universally hated and universally
Baby, It's
beloved.
Cold Outside?
No, like Merry Christmas Baby live by Bruce Springsteen.
Oh, God.
It's I don't know
Yuck.
something about it when that sax comes ripping in halfway through.
Yeah, that's fair.
it's pretty good.
Yeah, that's good.
Gets me fired up, but
Yeah, I think Baby It's Cold Outside is canceled now.
I don't think you can do that
No.
anymore in 2023.
We'll have to cut that.
What would be your because we've got time. What else is in your rotation at this time of year?
Oh, like White Christmas, This Old Christmas Card, Dominic the Donkey.
Oh yeah,
Yeah, eon, eon, you know what I'm saying?
that's offensive, I think, to Italians, but nevertheless,
I don't agree.
I'm just kidding. It's offensive to donkeys.
Yeah, poor
Um,
donkeys.
yeah.
Burro. Okay. Go
But
ahead.
the girl, like Christmas Tree Farm by Taylor Swift.
I don't know that one.
It's kind of new. I think
I don't
it
know
was
that artist.
previously. Oh yeah, sure.
Yeah.
We'll do this
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah.
Favorite Christmas holiday production.
Oh, I've seen a Christmas Carol on stage before, and that is a stirring production. What about you?
I honestly, I'm gonna go with the classic, The Nutcracker.
Oh,
I
yeah.
feel like that's
Yeah.
a pretty like
That's a solid
tried
one.
and true one you can go with.
Yeah.
What about moving from stage to film? Favorite Christmas movie?
Oh, that's a tough one. You know what I watched last night was Christmas with the Cranks.
It's good.
It's a good one. It's
Yeah.
it's touching. The scene where Tim Allen has the Botox in his face still gets me, and I've always had a crush on Jamie Lee Curtis. So I'll start with Christmas with the Cranks. What about you?
To be honest, like give me Home Alone.
Yeah.
But give me Home Alone 2: Lost in New York
Yeah.
all day.
Yeah.
I've already done my one watching, but I'll probably do it again. Otherwise, like, I'm a sucker for Elf.
Oh yeah.
It was one of those movies where I saw it in theaters and I didn't appreciate it. I thought it was lame because I was probably in my,
Yeah, you're too cool for school.
too cool for school.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I was probably in my early 20s, so definitely
Yeah.
not.
It wasn't. It wasn't as cool as you were.
Oh no, nothing
No.
could have been
You
right.
were
But no,
wearing-
but
yeah.
as I've aged, I've appreciated, I think, that movie. But
Yeah, I agree.
I think that and Christmas Vacation,
Oh, Christmas Vacation.
Chevy
Yeah.
Chase.
Yeah. Yeah, I heard someone say, actually, it was Sid from Breakfast Television, that
He never watched it
He never watched it,
until
and
recently.
Randy Quaid's character ruins the whole movie. I don't know if I necessarily agree, but he is reprehensible.
He said that the character ruined the whole movie.
Yeah.
The shitter was full is a classic line.
Yeah, I know, but he thought he was heavy-handed and then not required to move the story along.
You know, Clark.
How about those eggnog cups, though? Those moose ones?
I think my sister bought my dad those. a
Oh,
couple years
those
ago.
are
They're
unreal.
Great.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, that's a great question. Eggnog or no eggnog?
Yeah, eggnog. Brandy or whiskey?
Whiskey.
Yeah,
but
I
bourbon,
like-
actually.
Bourbon, eh? Yeah.
Yeah.
See, I still like brandy in them.
Well, yeah, because you're a classy guy.
Yeah.
I'm not. Can't do that.
Yeah, you're nowhere near.
Although I do have a bottle of brandy.
You are wearing a smoking jacket,
Yeah,
though,
it
so
is.
you are
It's
pretty
one
classy.
time of year I can wear
Yeah.
this at the holiday season. So last
And I'm
question-
coming at you straight from Norway, it looks like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Après ski.
Yeah.
We're about to be après pod, but before we do that,
Yeah.
the Die Hard question.
Well, obviously it is.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not even a question.
Okay.
And Alessandro gave us cred on it, so like he co-signed it, so it is. And so it will be.
Where do you draw the line, though,
What do you mean?
with Christmas movies? Like, does it have to
Oh.
be, like, can it just be set around Christmas time, or
Well,
does it have
can I
to
tell you
actively
this?
be a Christmas movie? Because Die Hard's not an actively Christmas
yeah,
movie, but
can I tell you this? So this is how I feel. I maybe this is a different take, but there were some growing up. You know how you have the long days when you're off school. they used to replay like Star Wars and Indiana Jones around Christmas. To me, I always associated those movies with Christmas. They're not Christmas movies.
No, yeah.
But you watch them because you have 3.5 hours to watch an Indiana
Yeah.
Jones film. But I don't think it has to be about Christmas to be a Christmas movie. I'm not saying they are Christmas movies, but I think it's about the setting in which you're watching them as well.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, nothing reminds me more of the holidays than pulling a beating heart out of a man's chest and then plunging him into
Yeah.
lava below.
Well, I mean, it's a time when people look into each other's eyes and say Kali Ma.
Well, I think there's nothing else we could
Yeah.
possibly say. So
Yeah.
I think
Happy holidays to everyone, and I
Yeah.
hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And do check out the Refettorio, and he mentioned what he has going on this year. It's going to be the place is going to be a buzz, and I bet you they'll beat the records they had last year.
I have no doubt.
Yeah, take care, everyone.
The Unlikely Innovators with Mike Commito and Steve Gravel. Presented by Cambrian R&D and the Center for Smart Mining.